Every 4th of July my high school football team and I would have to play a game at whatever high school our opponents would be at. Since I was the team quarterback, I had to play every game and couldn't miss it. My family would normally come, but the team we were up against had the game almost 5 hours away from our high school, so only we as a team went and a few friends who went to the high school that we snuck on the bus. My coach was a nice chill guy, so he knew we would sneak friends and girlfriends on the bus, but he didn't care. At the time, my girlfriend and I recently ended things because of Tanya. Going backward for a while, Tanya is my best friend's girlfriend. My best friend Ryan and I have known each other since preschool and have dreamed of making it to the NFL since we were in the 3rd grade. That's around the time we met Tanya. We as a trio were super close. We constantly hung out after school and on the weekends. Fast forward to 6th grade, I met my girlfriend Sophia. We brought her into the group and turned the trio into a group. Ryan liked Tanya ever since he met her, but Tanya always liked me. I never saw her in that way and never would have because I wanted to respect Ryan. They eventually began dating in freshman year. Sophia and I dated from 6th grade to then a week before this particular 4th of July game. The week before, Ryan and I went to a party with Tanya and got drunk. I blacked out and couldn't remember the night before until photos were sent to our football team of me and Tanya dancing and her sitting on my lap. I couldn't remember anything, but what I did know is how Tanya always wanted to be with me and hated the fact that I never wanted her and even hated Sophia for no reason. After the photos were sent, Tanya claimed it didn't come from her, and just like that I lost my girlfriend, my best friend, and almost my position on the team. Luckily the coach gave me one last chance since I was the best player on the team and he didn't want to lose me. Since preschool Ryan and I never went a day without talking, and now he didn't even look in my direction anymore. On the way to the game, I sat behind him and Tanya. I explained how I wasn't in control of my mind because I was heavily drinking. He didn't turn back to look at me once until I mentioned Tanya, and he looked me in the eye and told me I was dead to him. I shouted at him to stop being blinded by her and how she set me up because I didn't want her. At this point, everyone on the bus was focused on us. I explained all the times she came to me at parties and even at my house when we were kids. Tanya laughed and said she never wanted me. Ryan put his headphones on and laid his head on her shoulder. For the rest of the ride, it was silent. It was awkward for everyone. When we got there we played and won. After the game we all went to eat at a restaurant, then our coach found a spot of open land so we could pop fireworks. Sophia ended up showing up since one of her friends was dating someone on the team. All of the girls on the trip decided to go somewhere else while we stayed for fireworks. After a few hours went by we heard screaming coming from the other side of the road. On the other side was an abandoned house. We all ran over there since that's where the girls went to. I tried to stop Ryan again to talk to him, but he pushed me on the ground. Once I got up and ran to the place, my coach immediately stopped me from coming in and told me to go back on the other side. I saw the girls crying and even some of my teammates. I broke through everyone and saw Sophia on the ground not breathing. My coach picked me up, took me out of the house and told everyone to get on the bus and wait for the police to arrive. Tanya was nowhere to be found. Ryan tried to find her but was instructed to go back on the bus. Once the police arrived they questioned all of us and told us since we were still in the same state just hours away to go back home, and we did just that. The day after was a school day, but I stayed home because I didn't want to be bothered by everyone saying sorry to me. Everyone was still scared for more bad news because Tanya was still not found. My mom and sister left for the day and I was home alone. After laying in bed for almost the entire day, the doorbell rang. I went to the front door and looked through the window that was next to the door and saw it was Tanya. I ran to the kitchen, got a knife and went to open the door. Without hesitation, she walked in crying and tried hugging me. I pushed her off and told her to tell the truth and that she killed Sophia and ruined my life. Within an instant, she stopped crying and got serious. I told her to cut the crap and tell the truth and stop playing games. She pulled out a knife that had dried blood on it. I asked what blood was as I pulled out the knife I had. She grinned and called us soulmates. I told her she was crazy and that I was calling the police, but as I tried to walk away she swung the knife and cut my hand and I dropped the knife I had. I backed up slowly while she walked closer to me. I froze in fear, not knowing what to do. I could have easily picked up the knife, but I didn't want to take my eyes off of her. My sister walked through the door from school and saw us. She screamed and Tanya ran after her. I tackled her on the floor and held her there. My sister's scream made neighbors come over to check on us, one of them being Ryan. Without me asking him, he ran over to help hold her until police came. They found the phone with the photos of the party being sent from her and the weapon she used on Sophia. Ryan and I have become friends again. I'm glad she's rotting in prison. Meeting my then fiancé was the best thing that ever happened to me. At first, when I told my family, they were suspicious of his intentions. As for myself, I am 27 years old and my fiancé is 32, which is why my family was questioning if I were ready for someone who was in their 30s. As if they thought he had kids or something worse. However, after a while, he was able to change their minds, and I remember when my mom came in and told me, "Dalton has made me change my mind, Charlie." As I looked up at my mom, I was so excited to hear those words. The day Dalton got on his knee and said, "Charlie, will you marry me?" I knew I was going to have the fairy tale ending that most women dream about. As we have only been engaged for about a year, we have been always so excited to become one and have a family one day. Meeting Dalton's family was always a thing I wanted to do. Meeting them the first time, I knew that we were going to be good for marriage. Until one day his little sister Miranda came up to me and she told me, "Once you get married is when the real fun happens. You'll have to be burned into the family." This frightened me, and as I told my fiancé, "Dalton, he just said Miranda says weird things, don't worry, she gets those things from her little third grader friends." This made me breathe a little until after about 4 years after we were married, and Dalton for years always told me his family's favorite holiday was the 4th of July. As the day came, I was excited as he told me how fun we would have. We would both match wearing red and white. His family had a barbecue every year and they swam all day, party and fireworks at the end of the night. This seemed fun as my family didn't care about the 4th of July. Throughout the night it was fun, listening to music and eating food with his family. I didn't know how many cousins he had. As his family started to leave at midnight, he told me that his family was cleaning up for the night. It was about 12:30 a.m. when I started getting a bad feeling and heard things from what sounded like it was underneath the floor. I screamed out Dalton's name as he came running up to me and saying, "Hey, I'm sorry, but I have to show you something now, we are ready." I stood looking as he had a long black robe on and had some type of red oil on his mouth. I was really confused about what was going on. "It's okay, Charlie. I have been working on this for a very long time and I cannot wait to show you." I just nodded my head and said, "Can I use the restroom first, please?" He nodded and took me there and said, "I'll be waiting outside the door. Here's your robe, we have to match." I nodded and went into the restroom, not thinking too much about it. However, I did text my mom saying, "Mom, I am with Dalton, if anything happens to me." I just had this gut feeling and I was always taught to follow it. I put the robe on and walked out. He was excited to see me and he smiled and said with a smirk, "Right this way." I followed him down the stairs into the basement. I hadn't seen this basement in his parents' place before. As I went down, I smelled smoke and heard another woman screaming. I instantly grabbed Dalton's hand. "What's going on? Who is screaming? Where are we going?" He turned around with a sinister smile saying, "Remember when Miranda said you had to be burned into the family? Yes, tonight is the night you will be burned into the family." I raised my eyebrow and I said, "Dalton, what are you trying to say?" He forcefully grabbed my hand and pulled me to the rest of his family, and as I looked into the huge pot, I saw women's hair, followed by a woman's arm, and more body parts. I stepped back screaming, "Dalton, what's going on?" The rest of the family smiles and laughs at me, and his mother speaks up and says, "Hello, Charlie, tonight is the night you will be burned into the family. This smell of blood you smell is the other women who think they are good enough for my Dalton." I look at Dalton, and he is smiling at his mom and then looks at me as his dad puts me in a chair and ties me up. I started to cry. I thought I was dreaming as his dad smacked me across the face and told me, "No one is good enough for our Dalton. Stop crying, it will all be over soon. You will be burned into the family, and you will be an amazing sacrifice. Thank you for burning yourself for our family. You will be remembered." He smacks me again, and I cannot believe my ears as Dalton comes up to me, knowing what is going to happen next. As they start singing a song to start the ritual, I hear police sirens. As they hear them too, Dalton's parents say, "Dalton, did she call the police? Does she think they can save her?" They all laugh as the police bang on the door and eventually breaks through. Dalton runs into a secret door as his parents join hands and keep singing. The police rush down and take Miranda and Dalton's parents from downstairs as they untie me. It's been 5 years since I have seen Dalton. His family have gotten life in prison for murdering 10 women before I ended up down there. As for Miranda, she's been put into foster care. Dalton remains out there. I do not know where he is, and I always wonder if he will ever come back for me, or did he end up dying? I would have never known until I got a letter in the mail saying, "One day you will be burned into the family." Written in blood. With no address or anything, to this day I am scared to leave my house or even get a job. I live with my mom now, and I continue to live in terror hoping Dalton will never find me again.